Hey guys, in this video I'll be going over how to do an ILS landing in the Tomcat. If you're making your own mission, then you need to set up ILS for your carrier. Click on your carrier and go to waypoint 0. Click Advanced Waypoint Actions. Click Add. For type, do Perform Command. And for action, do Activate ILS. Then for unit, select your carrier and choose a channel number. This is the channel you're going to dial into your Tomcat. If other people are going to fly on your mission, there's no way for them to know what the ILS channel is, so I'd recommend putting it in the briefing. You can click this button here to open the briefing, and then what I would do is I'd type in the carrier name and I'd type the ILS channel in. With this menu you're in, you can also activate the TACAN. You don't necessarily need the TACAN to do an ILS landing, but it makes it a lot easier, and I'm going to show you how to do that in this tutorial. All you do is select Activate TACAN. On Unit, select your carrier, and then you can choose the TACAN channel. In this case, I'm just going to use ILS Channel 1 and TACAN Channel 1. Another thing you can do is click on your plane, click the blue button, and you can select the default ILS channel and TACAN band. This is not necessary because you can still dial it into your plane. It's just an option. And also remember to write the TACAN channel in the briefing so other people can know what it is. First thing you need to do is you need to get the carrier to turn on their lights. Now if it's daytime, obviously you don't need to do this, but it's really important to do this at nighttime so you can see the runway. If you're flying in a mission that has easy communication turned on, then you just click / on your keyboard, go to ATC, find your carrier, and click inbound. Now if you're playing on a mission that does not have easy communication, then you need to get gesture to tune the frequency in. You can open the gesture menu, go to radio, tune tactical, and find your carrier.
Roger.
And you can see gesture dialing in the frequency. Then hold right alt on your keyboard and click /, and that will open the radio menu for the ARC 182, which is gesture's radio, and click ATC, find your carrier, and click inbound.
Marshall 017.
Now since it's daytime, I have these options here, but if it's nighttime, you're going to have an option that says commence. You need to click commence, and once you click that, then the carrier will turn on their runway lights. Okay, now that the carrier's runway lights are on, let's set up our plane. First, put your HUD into landing mode, then put the steering command into AWL, and then for these two switches, make sure they're set up to ILS. If you have them set down, that will set it to automatic carrier landing, which is a different system. Next, we need to dial in our ILS channel, so go to this panel on the right and make sure the power's on, and set your channel number, and in the mission editor, I set it to channel 1 for our carrier. Now once you do that, you should see these bars come up on your VDI and also on your HUD. Now I'm going to turn on the TACAN. Now once again, the TACAN is not necessary, it just makes it a lot easier. Go to your TACAN panel on the left, make sure it's set to pilot so you have control, and then dial in the frequency. I'm going to do channel 1. If you click this inner knob, it'll change the lower number, and if you click on the outside, it'll change the outer number. So I'm going to do channel 1, band X, and set the power to transmit receive. Now if you look at your HSD, you should see a range in nautical miles to the carrier, and you should see a triangle that points to the carrier. Now you need to set your course here. If you go to the F10 map and you click on your carrier, you can see the heading. You want to do the magnetic heading, which is 337 degrees. The only thing is that this is the heading for our carrier, but we want to have the heading for the runway. What you can do is you can take this and do -9. So 337 - 9 is 328. Or you can zoom in on your carrier and you can activate the ruler here. And you can right click on the beginning of the runway, and then you can right click on the end of it. And you can see 328 degrees. I'm going to dial in 328 as my course. By the way, if you're playing on a multiplayer server that doesn't have the F10 map enabled, then the way you can know the final heading of the carrier is that whenever you first contact them on the radio, they'll tell you the runway heading, they'll say something like final bearing, and then they'll give the number. And when you do that, you're going to have this bar here in the middle. If the bar is on the right, that means you need to fly your plane to the right, and if your bar is on the left, you need to fly your plane left. So mine's on the right, so I'm going to turn right, and as I turn right, this bar is going to move left towards the center. And once this bar is lined up in the middle, I'm going to turn my plane back left to point at the triangle. One thing you can do is click backspace on your keyboard to get the stick out of the way. As you can see, the bar is moving towards the center now. And what I'm going to do is now turn the plane back to point at the triangle. So as you can see, I'm lined up with the TACAN, but the TACAN is not 100% accurate. The ILS bars are a little bit more accurate. The ILS bars are these ones here, and these basically work the same way. This bar is to the right, so I need to move my plane a little to the right. And for this horizontal bar, since I'm below it, I need to increase my altitude a little bit. So I'm going to move my plane a tiny bit to the right. And I'm just lined up on the horizontal bar, so my altitude is good, but I need to move a little bit more to the right. Now this bar's almost in the middle, so I'm going to turn left, and I'm going to point the plane at the carrier. Or if you can't see the carrier, you can point it at the tack end triangle right here. Now let's go ahead and lower our gear and get the plane set up for landing. You could have done this earlier if you wanted, but I'm just going to do it now. First, make sure you're below 250 knots, and then you can lower your gear and also your hook. And you can lower your flaps, and you basically just want to fly to keep those two bars lined up in the middle, and that will take you all the way down to the carrier. Another thing that's really useful when you're landing the Tomcat is the DLC, or the direct lift control. I'd recommend binding these buttons, DLC thumb wheel aft, forward, and toggle. If you press DLC toggle with your gear down and your flaps down, it'll open the spoilers on your wings. And you can use DLC forward and backward to move the spoilers up and down. And if you move the spoilers up, it'll make your plane go down. And if you move the spoilers down, it'll make your plane go up. And that makes it really easy to adjust the altitude of your plane. I would definitely recommend always having the DLC open when you're landing in the Tomcat. So right now you can see I'm above the bar, so I'm a little too high. So I'm just going to open my DLC, and the plane will start to decrease altitude pretty quickly. And as you can see, now I'm lined up with the bar again. Another thing you want to do is once you get close to the carrier, you want to make sure you have the right angle of attack for landing. The angle of attack is basically just what angle your plane is at. You can check your angle of attack by looking at this thing right here. If you have the orange circle in the middle, then your angle's good. If you have red lines down here, it means you need to pull the stick back a little bit to increase your angle of attack. If you have green lines, it means your angle of attack's too high. The other way you can check your angle of attack is by looking at this E bracket right here. You want to have this little cross thing in the middle. This little line right here you want to have in the middle of the E bracket. So I'm going to decrease my speed a little bit so that way I can pull back on the nose to get the line in the middle of the E bracket like this. So when you're landing on the carrier with the ILS, it's basically just about having the right angle of attack and also being lined up with the cross. Now once you get close enough to the carrier, you should be able to see the deck. Obviously I can already see it anyway because it's daytime. But if it's nighttime, once you get close enough, you should be able to see the runway lights. And if you want, then you can just land it by eyesight. This circle on your HUD is called the velocity vector. And you want to have the velocity vector kind of in the middle of the carrier, in the area called the crotch. It's just on the right side of the runway. And that's how you do an ILS landing in the F-14.
Just a bit high, 4 wire.
Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you later.